In the meantime, let me get back to that Business of Football Summit run by the Financial Times around the corner from here in Grosvenor Square in London. And of course, many Evertonians are thinking, what is next for our club? It's now 24 weeks since Farhad Moshiri announced that he had agreed a deal with 777 partners to sell them his 94% stake in the club, which of course is subject to approval. And Simon, you've got your own views, some good, some not so good, of 777 partners and their standing in the world of football finance and what they may or may not do if they get their hands on the football club. Josh Wanda, the American typically wearing a baseball cap at the time, of 777 partners, was at this summit yesterday. It took a bit of persuading, and what I got was not much, but I put it to him that he may or may not have a message for Evertonians.
I can't tell them anything yet because the Premier League has suggested that we don't litigate this in the public. It's prudent for us not to speak, but once the deal is approved, I'm happy to speak to you.
And are you confident it will be approved?
I am.
He's confident it will be approved, Simon. Tell us about matters like that, Simon. Why is it not prudent for him to speak in public at this time?
I've always maintained the view that you do a deal and talk about it after you've done it. Now, whatever the obstacles are, whether they're structural issues or they're overcoming the institutional parameters of being able to comply with the requirements, that you do a deal and then you've done the deal and you announce it in public. And the fact they're indexed to it already is difficult to control because of the nature of the public domain business. So my view is there's no reason for him not to talk about it in public. But those that make the most noise tend to be the ones that do the least amount of deals. We had people like this Chris Kirchner coming on here talking about the idea that he was going to buy Derby County and what he was and what he wasn't. As it turns out, he's got himself into all kinds of trouble in America, and good job that Derby didn't take his dime. These guys at 777 Capital, it troubles me slightly, the look and feel of them, because their engineering, their financing, the manner in which they're trying to acquire Everton at this moment in time with other people's money, and it is other people's money that they're utilising. Certainly the £180 million worth of loans that have gone into Everton have come in from a reinsurance company called A Capital or A Plan. And if you look at their ownership models, none of them are particularly flourishing. None of them are setting some sort of parameters that will give Everton fans a great deal of confidence that an ownership model that comes into the world's richest league is anything more than bettering 777 Capital and their credit rating and their asset value. Because ultimately owning a Premier League football club, which is the likely case with Everton, that it will be a Premier League football club, enhances their potential asset value and reclassifies some of their assets to a better level, which means their borrowings and their economic value will be greatly increased as a result of it. Now, as an owner, a buyer of a football club, you should also be a beneficiary of buying an asset. But if you're looking at it from a football club point of view, what is the betterment there for Everton? Moshiri has spent a lot of money and spent it unwisely. These guys coming in, to my mind, aren't going to spend inordinate amounts of money. So it feels like you're jumping from the frying pan into the fire a little bit.
Right.
And what is the benefit to Everton besides not having Moshiri? And if that's the only benefit that you're looking for, then there's your benefit. If you're looking for some very structured, well-meaning, forward-thinking, progressive, dynamic, invested ownership models, I think you might find yourself in some unfertile territory with these guys.
I mean, they're quite far down the road. They've provided working capital and new stadium funds of around 160 million, as you know.
It's not their money.
Right.
They've taken that money from A Plan, a reinsurance company, and lent it against assets of Everton. They're last ones out, which means that anyone else that's lent money to them, which are some of the finance companies that have lent money to Everton to fund some of their working capital. But it's not 777 Capital's money.
I see. Would you be concerned, Martin, when you hear that Standard Liège fans protested after the last game against the owners' involvement? They're third bottom at the moment, and of course 777 involved with them. Hertha Berlin, second bottom of Bundesliga at the moment. Sevilla have been struggling at the bottom. La Liga, Vasco da Gama in Brazil, third from bottom. They all seem to be in a relegation scrap, and each one has 777 involvement.
Well, it suggests that their ownership model is not working across Europe. It is concerning, Jim. I think it was a good week for Everton getting 4 points back again in the Premier League, and that's obviously they've got to now focus on that. And it seems as if as soon as the points total is sorted out, then there's something else to talk about with Everton. I think Yeah, it's not ideal, Jim, for the fans and the players, but they've got to keep winning on the pitch. Of course, big games coming up for them now.
Okay. These fellas do pitch up, Simon. Whether they talk or not is down to them. And as I say, and you heard it, we got a few words from Josh Wander of 777 Partners yesterday. Crystal Palace's largest shareholder, John Texter, said a few things. We'll touch on Palace later on this morning. Zlatan came and went. It was a gathering of the great and the good in the world of finance. And what we do know is that it's goodbye to the San Siro, as AC Milan will be playing their football in a new stadium. But Josh Wander of 777, all Evertonians out there, says, when I can say something and I'm free to say something, then I will say something. And he remains positive in spite of some of Simon's doubts regards 777 Partners this morning.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.